welcome back to Blood, Books, and Binge-Watching. Megan and Rachel here, back and ready to get back to our favorite couple, Poppy and Cass. Wait, what?
Wait.
It's a different set of characters, totally different point in time. None of the ones we love are alive yet. Who are these people?
Who are they? Not to fear, Sarah and Nyktos. Nyktos are here. The Flesh and Fire series sets itself apart from Blood and Ash, and while still including a ton of parallels that we will be bringing up as we go. General warning, this book is much darker than from Blood and Ash, and there are multiple trigger warnings throughout. So we'll make sure to pinpoint the specific chapters when we get there, but let it be known that A Shadow in the Ember by Jennifer L. Armentrout involves themes of suicide, assault, and abuse.
Thank you very much for that. Good to know. Because, I definitely remembered majority of the points that are brought up in this book, but I forgot just how, in depth that JLA really goes and brings another level to it that we did not see in From Blood and Ash.
Yeah, this entire series is very heavy hitting. I want to say that, and this may be a bit of a stretch of a comparison, but this is how it was for me. It's kind of like, okay, like how in the Throne of Glass series, Air of Fire was kind of a turning point for people. People either fell in love with the rest of the series completely or they wrote it off. I feel like Shadow in the Ember is kind of a similar staggering point, right? Like this is where you're going to be completely pulled into a completely new arena. So yeah, so buckle up.
Yeah, and I mean, right off the bat, you are going to see like parallels doesn't even seem close enough to describe just how twin-like, Sarah and Poppy are from each other, but also keeping them so separately and so unique in their own behaviors and choices, etc.
Yeah, definitely.
So I'm super excited to dive in on this. It's gonna be a long one, folks. Another long one for the books.
Yeah.
But every second we will make sure to make it worth it. Let us jump right into A Shadow in the Ember, the first Flesh and Fire book.
Let's go.
We are opening on Sarah. Full name, Seraphena. And one of the first lines we get is, "You will not disappoint us today, Sarah." Okay. She has green eyes, like someone we already know very well. And she's being presented, bathed, and groomed to pristine condition. Also mentioning that she is smelling of jasmine. She looks like her father, I should say. She has freckles and what she describes as a strong jaw, which I read as very cut cheekbones or jawbones rather. She has the same slight tilt to the outer corner of her eyes, which I thought was a very interesting detail as well. And she does not resemble her mother at all, who she is currently with, and who is the one that told her, "You will not disappoint us today." So it's like, we are really setting the stage. We are in the shoes of yet another maiden. She has got the white veil presented, and it reminds her of the white wolf that she saw by the lake all those years ago. So little crumbs already. We're finding crumbs.
Yeah, this is like page 2, I think.
Seriously, that's why I'm going through and I'm doing this summary, and I'm like, all right, how generalized can I make these to make it concise, but also pick up on the finer details that we need? And there's so many fucking finer details, everybody.
Yeah.
And as the veil is placed over her head, we recognize that they're mentioning fastening it with chains, and it's only covering down to about, right above her mouth and her nose. Very similar to another maiden. She carries the Mirel bloodline, and she is being offered as a bride, which is part of a deal that was struck 200 years ago. In this book, the third sons and daughters ascend and go to Elysium to serve the primals and the gods. And tonight is her 17th birthday. And she's to become the primal of death's consort. Fun!
What a great way to enter adulthood. My God. Yeah, we really we get a glimpse of some of her inner monologue at that point, kind of like, with her reflecting on her relationship with her mom. And we definitely have a character that's hurting here. We get that revealed very early on.
Very, very much so. And along those lines, so her mother's Queen Caliphate, Caliphate, if I say that correctly. And she's never actually embraced Sarah as a daughter. Sarah has a couple of step siblings, as well as her stepfather, who is the king, and her mother has been far more, open arms to them than she ever was to, like, her own blood, Sarah. And after we kind of get this brief introduction to her cold bitch of a mother, Sarah is left alone. Enter her stepbrother, Tavius. We fucking hate him.
Shit.
So fucking much. So he has become the heir since she was born veiled. She's been kept secret, kept hidden, never been acknowledged as the daughter of the queen and king. So she is essentially the only full-blooded heir, I guess is the best way to put it.
Mm-hmm.
And she has been hidden from view. Like, she has not even been, like, presented as a child of the king and queen. And so some historical lore around that is that, the truth of this, deal, the truth of their reality has been kept a secret. So this goes back all the way, those 200 years ago, to a person named King Roderick, and he made a choice to save his people, but in the process sealed her fate. So he was the first of that Murrell bloodline and is her ancestor. Through kind of this introduction, we're getting background on Sarah. We're also kind of having a conversation with Tavius, and we get the feeling that he is not a good person. He speaks with false empathy, claiming that the primal of death has scaled skin and, like those who guard him. And he's got fangs and he's terrifying. And one would assume automatically someone called the primal of death, assume that's a scary individual.
Yeah.
You would picture, someone that, is in charge of death would be terrifying. And Sarah has been trained, actually, the big overarching part of this whole book. Sarah has been trained her whole life in combat, to make the primal of death love her, and then she's going to kill him. So she's been trained as, an assassin, in seduction, she's able to mold herself into what she has to be in order to make this primal fall in love with her, so that she is just going to end up killing him in the end. Whoa.
That's...
God, sexy assassin.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah.
Also, being trained your whole life as a seductress also is just icky.
Yeah.
That's a very unfortunate situation to be in.
Yep.
So they are currently waiting in the Shadow Temple, which is close by the Cliffs of Sorrow. And she thinks back on a woman named Sotoria, who's a mortal who fell to her death after she was frightened by a god. And now we enter a room with two thrones. She is led to the second of these two thrones. And carved into the back is a crescent moon similar to the birthmark that she has on her shoulder. And which is, further evidence that her life has never been hers since she was born.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The fact that she...
No, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that's like, because she does, more in her dialogue of hers. I think she says something along the lines of, my life was never mine from the beginning, essentially. Mm-hmm. And that's heartbreaking. And we also get to see her first doing her breathing exercises here, where she's like, breathe in, hold, breathe out, hold. And I'm like, oh, it's doing breath work, combating anxiety. I can relate.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, okay, I've done that a time or two.
Yeah.
So Sarah lives in a place called Lasagna, and the citizens of Lasagna are unaware of what is currently happening to her. They are unaware of the truth of their so-called Golden King Roderick. The legends have it that, he built up Lasagna from the ground up with his bare hands, and his blood, sweat, and tears went into making this. And the reality, as usual with those big legends in these books, is a falsehood. It is totally a fable. And if that was found out, the Murrell dynasty would absolutely collapse. So it's like, okay, we're seeing, a lot of the deception is in play with this throne, and has been for quite a while. In reality, the original Roderick Murrell, he called upon the help of the gods. Instead of getting a god, he got a primal. It's like, okay. Then he made a deal in order to make the earth fertile again so that they could, settle on the lands, because there was a war that destroyed everything. In return for making said lands fertile, the primal will require the Murrell line's firstborn daughter, who ended up being Sarah. And Sarah's position in this is that she now has to be given as the Primal of Death's consort. Yikes.
Mm-hmm.
Also, to go 200 years and never birthing a daughter,
Yeah,
that's also, I
what
don't
are
know
the
how
odds
genetics
of that?
work. Yeah, I would be very curious. If anyone out there that's listening is at all, educated in biology and genetics and whatnot, very interested to hear about the odds of that. So as soon as she was born, soon as she popped out that puss, land began to rot. I'm really trying to bring any levity to this that I can. Like I said, it's a dark-ass book.
It's so heavy. It's so heavy.
It's a dark-ass book. We haven't even gotten to, this is prologue, but I didn't introduce this. This book has a prologue. We are in the prologue.
We are in the prologue.
Okay.
Yeah.
So her goal, since the day she was born, has been to fulfill her duty as the consort, but then kill the primal, thereby ending the deal, and the land would become well again. The weather has also become more extreme. Felt the need to reference that, because it just so happened I live up in Massachusetts, and we got fucking snow this morning, and it's April 12th. So
it was
cool.
And yeah, I'm in Georgia. It was like, I think our lows were like 40 last night. Just crazy.
So as I'm reading this, I'm like, oh, more extreme weather? You don't say.
Yeah.
If she failed in this task of killing the primal, she would doom the kingdom to a slow death. As she's being presented, a rumble starts to begin and cracks form in the air. So you figure, just crack down the center of reality, pretty much, and mist flows out of it, which is ether. And in a blink, a man is standing in front of her wearing a dark cloak, and he's surrounded by tendrils of shadows, contained with streaks of silver. That's such a cool visual to me. I feel like when I think of shadowy tendrils, though, I do think of Slender Man in the Slender Man art. So I picture him as kind of a Slender Man-esque character. I'm like, what is that reminding of? It's the tendrils. As soon as I read tendrils, it's Slender Man. He is, however, I gotta turn this back around because he's very tall. And primals have been said to be larger than the average male, and she's able to make out a dark mass behind him that looks like wings. Winged male?
I'm fucking terrified.
I'm sorry, I have the ACOTAR in brain where immediately wings, I'm like, you don't say, really? Wings?
What are you doing here?
Roxanne, get out of here! She is, so by being the consort of the primal, she's going to be the consort of the Shadowlands, which is one of the courts of Elysium. We'll find out more about the courts a little later. And she has been trained by a man named Sir Holland, as well as Mistresses of the Jade. And Mistresses of the Jade are, as you would understand, sex workers. Because the only way to kill a primal is with love. So that's why she has to be a seductress and make him fall in love with her, become his weakness, and then stab him, end him, however one would do that. So it's like, okay. And, he looks her over, and we can't see his face, but she feels his gaze. And then in a blink, he's inches from her. He does real quick, right up close. And then he says, I have no need for a consort, and vanishes. Oh.
Well, that's not good.
So Sarah has failed, and I guess our first brief trigger warning here, her mother just smacks her right across the face, unprovoked, and she starts demanding to know, Sarah, what did you do? And so Sarah has failed, and the kingdom is doomed, and it's all her fault. Welcome to A Shadow in the Ember. Chapter 1. So that's Sarah.
For anyone that's listening that is not within our book club, we jokingly call our weekly meetups group therapy. And I just would like to disclose that this may now be a therapy session. So just buckle up, get some ibuprofen and an ice pack, because it's going to be rough.
I have my espresso martini. I think that will help.
Yeah. We're indulging for this episode to get through it
today. It's an evening recording. We did it today.
So chapter 1, everyone, here we go.
We cut to 3 years later. So what we know so far: last of her bloodline, check. Princess to be promised to the primal, check. And maiden, check. So far we get kind of, the maiden is the connection that we got with Poppy other than the green eyes. That's all we got to go off of this point, as much as I want to dive right into that.
Yeah.
We meet the Lord of the Vodina Isles, whose name is Lord Klaus, and he's carrying a burlap sack through the halls, and Sarah is with him, around him. I couldn't get the general idea.
Yeah.
But Sarah has a feeling that she will know how this meeting is about to go. And it's like, what's about to go? If you know anything about these fantasy books and burlap sacks and what those are normally used for, you could probably tell where this is going to go as well. They are at a meeting of the King and Queen of Lasagna, once again, her mother and stepfather. Tavius is also there as the heir. He could not care less. What does Tavius remind us of, Rachel?
Fucking Joffrey.
Fucking Joffrey.
Fucking, that is who I picture reading this. I can't picture anyone else. I don't even remember, like I can't even fully remember his description. I don't even know if it's mentioned because he just pissed me off so much that every time he popped up, I was like, fucking hate him. It's Joffrey.
I'm fairly certain he's a blonde man.
I'm
like 85% sure he's a blonde man, so that would make sense. Because otherwise, I would say he's a Ramsay Bolton, but he doesn't it's not a spoiler, but he doesn't physically torture people in that way that Ramsay does in the books, so or in the show. I've only seen the show, but no, Joffrey is a much better because he's like little shit energy.
Little shit.
That's and especially being heir to the kingdom, just like Joffrey was, like just little shit energy.
Yep.
We hate him.
Hates him.
The Lord has come to speak on behalf of their crown in the Vodina Isles, and because the King and Queen of Lasagna have been waiting for an answer about their allegiance. The answer is what is in said burlap bag, as it's tossed to the floor with what is described as a wet splat, and a severed head rolls out. Who's surprised?
Not us.
A lot of us. Wow, you don't say. So this is the head of Lord Saros, who is advisor to the King and Queen of Lasagna. So it's very clear that the answer to that offer of allegiance is a big ol' no. So that lord leaves, and he makes some comments to Sarah because Sarah's there posing as like a handmaiden. That's how she's always been kind of shown if she's been around the family at all, is she's a handmaiden. And he makes some kind of comment because Sarah, as we've come to learn, I think in this scene, is she's got a bit of a bigger chest. She's got the tatas. So as he's leaving, the queen silently kind of orders Sarah. She'd be like, show him what a hot piece you actually are. And we're just like
this is her mother. This is the queen. So can we keep in mind that would make Sarah a princess?
Yeah.
And her mother is talking to her like this. This is where my tangent starts. Cause so I guess kind of paralleling between From Blood and Ash, this relationship of Sarah and her mother is just such a different caliber. The Duke was horrible to Poppy. He was horrible, but Poppy was not allowed to have any physical intimacy, right? And so here you have your mother, the queen, telling you to go whore yourself off. Yeah.
It's really icky. It's awful. Because you can immediately tell by this point, her mother is all for her being used in this manner. And she's like, yeah, that's what you were trained for. Go show him. Whatever. But we also kind of get the hint that it's not, by the way that Sarah is leaving the room, she mentions the dagger that she has strapped to her thigh. We've seen that before. So it's you also get the idea, it's all right, well, he just brought back the head of one of their lords. They gotta retaliate at some point,
Yeah.
So it is definitely a double meaning there, but yeah, it's so sad for Sarah immediately. It's just and furious for her. This is how you're being treated when you are a princess, but not being treated as such.
Yeah.
Or even just a person and not being treated as such.
And so when she leaves the room, this is just a little Easter egg that I picked up on that I think is an Easter egg. Maybe it's not, but I feel like it's kind of symbolic. She's walking by and she notices the crest on the banners is a crown of gold leaves, right? And there's a sword through the center. And Sarah mentions that it made her think of someone being stabbed through the skull. And then so I was thinking back to what Poppy had mentioned about the crest in Atlantia, where she was like, the arrow and the sword on the crest need to be equal. So I just thought that was an interesting little Easter egg after she's leaving this room.
Keep an eye on those crests.
Yeah.
We will. At that, Sarah exits the room and shuts herself down. And she follows the Lord to the harbor and unsheathes, like I said, a dagger that she keeps strapped to her thigh.
Because she's a baddie.
And it's not a bloodstone dagger like Poppy had, but a shadowstone one. So I'm like, oh, okay, we're getting different types of stones. Okay.
Yeah.
As Sarah is like trekking her way through the city and kind of following this guy, she reflects on the last years. You know, when she turned 18, she was returned to the temple, again, offered to the primal. He never came. Same thing happened at 19. Same thing happened just, I think a few months ago, at the age of 20. And so they've been trying to get the primal to come back since that first time 3 years ago. Since that time, she has always been kept in her room. Food was brought to her, so she was not allowed to like socialize with anybody. But over the years, it had grown less and less scarce until it just never showed up anymore. So they're literally just not feeding her. So she is forced to scavenge in the kitchens. What the fuck? And then Sarah approaches the Lord as she catches up to him, and he grossly starts to assume that, like, oh, the queen's given her to him as a gift. But, as the baddie that we are going to find out that she is, she unsheathes her dagger to his surprise, and they fight, but she does win, stabbing her dagger into the base of his skull. Then she mentions that her gift warms in her hands, and then she resists it, shoving it back down, and then gets to work on sending a message that would make her mother proud. The head of that lord back to the ship, to the Vodina Isles. Cool. So it's like, it is a cool scene of her, like, fighting this guy and, like, proving him wrong when he's trying to be like, oh, you bitch, and blah, 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 and then kicks his ass, so...
Especially all we've gotten from this book is how much Sarah is shit on. And then it's like, oh no, she's badass. She's badass.
She is a badass.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, she's a badass that starts to get a headache.
Mm-hmm.
And she's been getting these headaches more frequent in recent months, which is a trait that she shares with her mother. One of the very few traits that she shares. Covered in blood, she feels like going to her lake in the Dark Elms, but says, no, can't really do that tonight. Instead, she heads across the Golden Bridge to the Garden District, which is the wealthy side of town. And she is, like, specifically near the area of what she calls the Lux. And that's, like, I think one of their pleasure centers, pleasure houses, areas, from what I was able to gather. Very high-end stuff, it seemed like. She hears a scream in the distance and follows it. Then she sees a man just burst out of a nearby home and run away, trying to run away, barely paying attention to, like, her being there, but unfortunately he does not get far. Then she sees a bright light flashing from inside one of the homes, so she's like, I'm gonna hide. What the hell's happening? A goddess stands before the man, who's now on his knees, and he's, like, bending backward, and a light is coming out of him from within him. It does not look good at all. It reminds me, actually, very much of, speaking of Castiel in Supernatural. When he kills demons and things, and he puts his hands on the forehead, and then they have the white light that, like, explodes out of them.
I thought of Watchmen.
Oh, it's been so long since I've seen Watchmen.
I can't remember his name. I'm, like, kicking myself in the ass because I had I think so. Yeah. I had the graphic novel. Guy? Huh? Sorry.
The big blue penis guy?
Yes. Yes. Yeah, that's immediately what I thought of.
Okay, I can see that. I can see that too. Okay. So it is not uncommon to see gods and goddesses in the city, which is just wild to try to fathom in itself.
Yeah.
And clearly these are gods, like, showing power like that, easy to assume.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a terrifying thought.
Yeah, they just roam. It's like described, they just roam into the mortal realm because they're bored. They're like,
pretty much.
Hey, you want to go fuck shit up?
Yeah. They're like, I'm bored. Let's go play in the Mortal Lands.
Yeah. Let's go play with the humans.
Yeah. There is a hierarchy in Elysium where they come from. So Elysium is split into 10 courts, all that have their own primals that rule said courts. And the gods and goddesses kind of serve as their royals within those courts.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how that stacks up.
Yeah. And they, like, it's just crazy, this hierarchy in comparison to the From Blood and Ash world, right? Because, like, these courts make up all of the facets of life. The lands to the seas, love to birth, war and peace, and life and death. So it's like, we are definitely on the grandstand of this universe.
Yeah, definitely. It's very larger than life already. Another god exits a house, and brief trigger warning here for a particularly sensitive death. This god exits a house carrying a baby, deceased baby, and tosses it in front of this goddess. You do not want to fuck with these people. It is such bad. All bad, what we are seeing. It's chilling and awful. Sarah still somehow debates trying to go after them and kill them. Because her Shadowstone dagger is able to kill a god. I believe you're able to kill a god by, like, severing their head or stabbing them in the heart with the Shadowstone. And just as she turns out from the building's safety to go do, a hand clasps around her mouth and another around her waist, and then she's held against a hard chest. And then a voice warns her not to do that. Oh, we don't like getting grabbed by strange men in alleyways. That's not cool. Not cool at all. This strange man picks her up, like, while with her still against his chest, so damn, and carries her into this vine tunnel, as it's described. She struggles to get out of his grip, but he's holding her very firmly against him, with a hand covering her mouth still. He tells her that whatever she was planning to do will not end well for her, so she switches tactics. And she's like, okay, well, let me rub a foot up your leg, and, you know. And while he says, on second thought, I'm thoroughly interested with what you're attempting to do, she's actually just trying to find his knee.
Oh, listen, I'm already feral for him, okay? I don't even know anything about him. Like, sound the morally gray alarm. Bring him out.
Bring him out. Bring him out.
Bring him out. Bring him out.
Now, I had twinges of that when I was first reading it, but also just in the environment that they're in, I'm like, want to be horny, can't be horny, strange man in alley, does not compute. What's happening?
I am weak.
Not weak. You just have your own tastes, and that is okay. They are fictional men, because I know that if any one of us were to encounter this situation in real life, we would be stabby.
It's just like when we did the Under the Covers episode, right? When we talked about that with Lady M, like, if it happened in real life, you'd be like, back the fuck up.
Yeah, exactly. But she thinks that she, like, recognizes his voice for a second, but her escape attempt fails again. There are 3 gods that we have identified here, named Tarek, Mattis, and Cressa. They're all gone now. They've kind of left. And so now we get to focus our attention on this tall, muscular stranger. He is quite annoyed for having to help her and receiving no thanks for it. She's like, bitch, I didn't ask for your help, so why should I thank you for it? He's like, well, I had plans, and now they're not gonna happen, because I had to step in and save your ass. She's like, what the fuck?
Yeah, fuck on you.
He also drops this, like, very juicy nugget of a line. There isn't a decent bone in the entirety of my body, so no, I do not have this thing you call common decency.
Ring the alarm.
The alarm! And that ears perked, and I said, okay. He then releases her, and then she notices how tall he is, and then tries to stab him. Not successful. He pins her against the wall, holding her wrists above her head and pressing his body against hers. And I wrote down a question. Are we as readers turned on in this moment? Yes, we're fucking turned on, Megan. What was past me thinking? Writing down this, like, I think I had that reality check moment of, like, if this was happening in real life, you would be acting like this. It's like, well, she did try to stab him, didn't she?
It really is like having this debate with yourself on trying to rationalize.
Yeah, and this is what it is to be on the fence of a morally gray person.
Right.
I am on the fence of this. I haven't tipped one way or the other yet.
Listen, though, I appreciate that, like, that introspection, though, because, again, like we've talked about before, right? That's why reading is so amazing, and doing this is so amazing, is you get so many viewpoints, because whereas I'm like immediately like, oh, bring him on.
I should think this is, like, not good, but I kind of like it, so I'm going to roll with it.
It's about balance.
Let's see where this goes. Very important detail to mention about this man's height. His hips meet her stomach.
Yeah, let's just take that in for a minute.
That puts so much into perspective for me.
Yeah.
My God.
Just think about that for a minute.
Hips at the stomach. So is my face at his chest.
And I'm like 5'8", so like if I'm picturing that, I'm be like,
I don't know if we find out how tall Sarah is in this moment, but I would imagine she's an average kind of height for a woman or female, whatever. And like, so I think like, yeah, I'm 5'6.5". So you got to figure somewhere between 5'5" and 5'8" right? So yeah, just okay. Now you're getting me. She finally then sees his face, and she describes him as the most stunning man she's ever seen. Obviously.
Are we surprised? There it is.
Now let us tell me more.
Yeah, let's
Now
elaborate
give it
on
to
that.
me.
Let's elaborate on that a little further. So she describes him as none were put together so perfectly, or essentially as this man's. I believe she's just in referencing to his face. He had the kind of face an artist would love to shape with clay or capture with charcoal. Now, I did think that was I do think that this description is beautiful, but there was also a coldness to his features, as if the primals themselves had crafted the lines and planes and forgot to add the warmth of humanity. Jennifer, if you by chance are listening to this, you are a freaking mastermind. That is, yeah, no notes.
That is such an elegant way of describing someone. Because, yeah, you
Mhm.
think when someone says, oh, the most stunning, handsome man I've ever seen, it's like, all right, yeah, is his jawline chiseled? Does he have a
Right.
nice nose? Are his eyes whatever? Like, does he have groomed brows? It's like, no, like, just artist shaping with clay.
Like
And,
I've got goosebumps. It's
yeah,
just so good. So good.
it's a beautiful way of describing somebody.
Mm-hmm.
Especially someone who is supposed to be the most stunning man she's ever seen. He's nearly a foot taller than her, as tall as the primal of death had been, with his golden brown skin, silver eyes, with the light of ether within them. So he is a god.
He's a god! We have a god!
Woohoo! We have another god, and we've seen what those three gods were up to, so it's almost still like a wee woo, red alert, but also like, but he's so stunning, so I'm conflicted. He does let her go because they sound like they hear other people coming, and tells her then, hey, put your legs around my waist.
Hello, close proximity. Okay.
Oh. Yeah. She even describes, like, it was so rare that anyone ever got that close to her, that allowed their skin to encounter hers. Like, she has never been, like, touched, is what we're getting the sense of.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then, he tells her to kiss him. And she does, because who the fuck wouldn't? And that's where I fell in. That's where I was immediately like, all right, you got me.
You're on the morally gray fence and you're like, beep.
Yeah. I'm like, oh no, a soft wind happened to blow me over. Didn't take much. I was on the fence, didn't take much. So they start kissing. Then they start to, like, get into it. She then discovers that he's got fangs. Hell fucking yeah. We know we have experience with fangs now.
Mm-hmm.
Then he, like, runs his hands up her thighs around her ass and, like, describing him, like, grabbing into the, like, the soft skin there. So it's like, oh my god, another plus size queen, just like, hello. She then feels like quick sharp pain, and he nips at her lip, and then they break the kiss, and he notices, like, bitch, you made me bleed. Nobody makes me bleed my own blood. Then he sucks the blood from her fingertip because she's like, oh, what the fuck? And then he grabs her hand and then sucks it, and it's just like, and he keeps dropping the hottest fucking lines. Like,
Oh my god, I know.
very good at pretending to enjoy things I do not. But I was not pretending when I had your tongue in my mouth. Oh, okay.
God.
Sarah's like, I really gotta get going, but then she also kind of feels wrong to leave him. It's like, oh, interesting, but she does, and they have a very fun dynamic already.
The banter is bantering out the gate with them.
We got banter, chapter 2. We got the banter. It came in swiftly and quickly, and we appreciate it.
Yeah.
On to chapter 3. She passes the location where the three gods had been burning that man, because only a scorched mark on the ground remains. So burned quite literally to dust. And guess who's back? The strange god.
Oh.
Where'd you come from? She's not leaving. She's like, you don't tell me what to do. And he's not leaving because he also wants to find out why these gods did what they did. So they're like, let's investigate together. And I'm like, yay, murder mystery.
Right. Yeah, she literally says to him, only I get to determine what does and doesn't involve me. What I do and do not do is of no concern to anyone, not even a god. I just want to take a minute to remind myself and us that, like, she is quite literally popping off to these super powerful beings, right? So can we like give a testament to her character on she's like, I don't give a fuck.
Nope. Not one single fuck. She's immediately like, yeah, okay, you're a god.
And
so what? There is an additional burn mark that they find in the basement where the assumed mother of the child was killed. And Sarah speaks of the Veil, which is the territory of the Shadowlands where people go after death if they earned a peaceful afterlife. The alternative is going to the Abyss, which is where evilgoers' souls are sent, and they pay for their cruelty that they have inflicted during their lives for forever. So it's hell. It's hell. But I do love the Abyss. I like that a lot.
Yeah.
They continue to investigate. The gods would only murder in the dark like this, says this other god, because they wouldn't want anyone to know about it. It's like, yeah, okay. And we also find out that these people, so they were not, husband and wife, as one would assume. They were, in fact, brother and sister. The woman was a single mother. And it's a rough go of it, walking through this house and seeing the life that they were leading. And
the crib.
And they get to the crib. Very sad. The god says that 4 other people have been killed this way recently, so that makes 7 total. Definitely a pattern here. The god orders her to leave, like, leave it alone, go away. And Sarah, once again, is like, I don't think so. And so he does the classic, like, oh, I'm standing several feet away from you, and then I get really up close and personal to you really fast. And it will always just give me, like, the, ooh, okay.
Yeah.
And each time that they make, like, skin-to-skin contact, it's worth noting that she is feeling a jolt of static along her skin. She says that she constantly is, like, jolting with this feeling when they touch. Aside from the fact that feels, like, cool to the touch, I believe, like, he's always cold. This man's always cold. I mean, granted, I am always cold. It is one of the complaints that my husband has made. I do the thing where my foot touches his leg at night, and he's just like, Jesus!
I just had that Cascade song. Every time we touch, I get this feeling.
I mean, damn, that sounds like people from these books. We get a little background on her dagger as well. It was found by an ancestor who knew it could kill gods and weaken primals. So it's like been passed down. Shadowstone, note, is deadly to mortals. So it's like her just carrying this around on her person is like, girl, that could kill you immediately. But a god can be killed by stabbing in the brain or the heart. And primals, however, the Shadowstone would only injure them because they can only be killed by love. How poetic. He makes a familiar comment that reminds us of another male who's turned on by another woman, another violent woman. He's like, oh, I love the way you, not the love the way you lie. That's a song. But he talks about, like, how violent she is and how hot it turns him on or something, and it's like, oh, okay, it sounds familiar, all right. He also calls her Lisa.
Well, isn't that familiar?
I think I've seen this film before. And so far, I didn't like the ending that we left off with.
No! What is going on?
Sarah thinks that he is about to kill her, but he does not. Instead, he lets her go, telling her that he'll be watching. Okay.
All right.
Chapter 4. And here we will give an umbrella for suicidal thoughts. Trigger warning. We'll make sure to point it out as soon as we get there. Cut to 2 weeks later, and Sarah is training with Sir Holland, who is noted to look younger than his age because he's about 20 years older than Sarah, so we can assume he's like mid-40s, 50s. He tells Sarah that people deserve a painless and quick death, but she does not see the point. She's like, I don't know, I feel like people die, they die. A lot of people do it quick and painless, cool. I don't give a fuck. And it's like, oh, that's very different from Poppy.
Yeah.
Okay. Granted, she is 3 years older than Poppy. Or 2 years older, I think. I think Poppy was 18 when we left off, and Sarah is now 20. So while Sarah has been paraded around as a handmaiden for her whole life, she is technically a princess, as we've already been over. She needs to be careful, however, because since she is being paraded as a handmaiden, she does not get any guards. And there have been 2 separate kidnapping attempts in the last 3 years. So she is very much in danger, which is a part of why she's been trained for all these years as well.
Yeah. And like in that same conversation where Sir Holland is like telling her, you know, that's exactly why you need to be careful and care about your identity being concealed because people have tried to steal you, right? Her only response is, I was already just another body around here, one that was mostly ignored, but whatever. And I just, this is like from the beginning, I connected with her for like a whole slew of issues. This dealing with like just that thought of feeling like you just don't matter, it just hit really hard.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
Sarah. Sarah's leading a really rough life.
Yeah.
We get a flashback to a recent memory of Tavius that was like whipping a horse once, and then Sarah
Mhm.
stepped in to stop him and did stop him, and then she took the whip and started whipping him back, and we love her for that.
Love that. Horse
Like,
girls unite.
seriously, abusing any animal, terrible. Horse
Yeah.
though, whipping a horse,
Yeah.
yeah. We don't fuck with that.
My God.
So we're like, we loved you already, Sarah. Love you even more. Sir Holland is like a father figure to her. So it's very, very similar to Victor and Poppy,
Yeah.
especially in where he is training her, like
Mhm.
in combat, all of that jazz.
Mhm. Yeah, he says to her, this part did not sit right with me. I mean, I get it. I get why he said that. You are not bait, you are a trap. I was like, oh my God, it just keeps building on her. Yeah, and just like her reflecting on like, okay, so what layers exist under that? Like
Yeah.
what more is there to me if if I'm just a fucking trap, right? Her not having anyone as a companion. And her feeling like all she has is her lake, like
Yeah.
continuing to discredit herself of being allowed to claim ownership to anything.
She's been stripped of any sort of personhood that she could have been able to develop over these years, over
Yeah.
20 years. She's never had a chance to do any of that. So, yeah, the only place that she kind of has that she could remotely try to claim as her own is this lake,
Is the lake. Yeah.
which we have yet to see, but we shall see it. Sarah blames herself for the further damage to Lasagna since being found unworthy by the primal, because her whole training, her whole life had led up to that moment at 17 when she was like, good, it's the next step in, the right direction of curing our lands and making sure people aren't slowly going to starve to death. And since that fell through, the only person to blame is herself at that point, and so she's been struggling with that all this time. And that's a fucking lot to put on a person.
Yeah.
Only Sir Holland and her stepsister Ezra have treated her like a person at all these last years, but that does not mean that they're necessarily her like close buddies. So she kind of has a more of a I want to say transparent view of like how Poppy was with Tawny, and it's like Poppy was full on like, Tawny's my best friend. Like,
Right.
she understood that, like, yes, she was only there and in proximity to her because of obligations, but they did form a bond. Whereas Sarah's like, yeah, they treat me like that and I appreciate them for not being cruel to me, but it's not like they're great to me either. So it's just even more isolating. Like,
Poppy was literally told how important she is, and Sarah has been told that she's worthless.
oh my God. Yes. I don't know how I didn't make that one by
Like,
one. Jeez.
yeah.
He tells her that, or Sir Holland tells her that he believes the primal will return, and that's why he's continued to train her. And also he calls her a princess. Like, what a callback. Different kind of callback, but
Right.
still, anyone
Right.
being called a princess.
Yeah.
And so who is she, really? After we find at this point trigger warning for like depression, those suicidal tendencies and thoughts. Shortly after the rejection by the primal, she had begun taking a lot of sleeping draft that would like put her out for like 2 days at a time. So she fell into that kind of cycle at some points, contemplating like just how easy it would be to just drink it all and not wake up at all. Which is yet another really dark differentiator between this and From Blood and Ash, and really, really sad.
Yeah, she just continues to punish herself. In this part where she says, I dwelled on that small seedling of relief I'd felt when the primal had rejected me, then I drowned in that shame and selfishness. And for anyone that has struggled with debilitating, I don't know if I know that I've read books that have depicted it very well, but this just hit so hard. And then, like, having been with someone that has dealt with the paths of addiction, right? Because that element is very big in here, too.
Definitely.
Very big.
Yeah, so it just continues to get darker, and, while also kind of like it's a very interesting, path to put this main character on, where usually, it's someone young who's looking for, we're used to Poppy, bright, big, beautiful tomorrow, as nervous as she may be to ascend. It's like she's also having those internal struggles and back and forth. But yeah, they're both dealing with two very different types of like emotional, mental, physical abuses, and both are so terrible and but also so different at the same time.
It was this scene for me that I knew that this was a different caliber of series. It was this exact scene where I was like, "Oh, I need to sit down. Like I need to settle in for
Yeah,
this." So,
definitely. We cut to later that day. She starts getting one of her migraines and heads to her room, where we meet Odetta, who was her nursemaid, now kind of like a personal maid. Odetta is sleeping, and Sarah thinks that she's dead. So Sarah starts to reach out to her, but Odetta stops her, warning her not to do that. Like, not to touch you? Okay.
yeah.
And it's like, all right. She's like, I was just making sure that you were breathing. Like, thought you could have died. And Sarah briefly mentions, like, I don't know. It was a callback to when I was picking up Butters. I don't know. And it's like, I guess we'll find out who Butters is at some point. Sarah also asks Odetta. She asks her what Odetta meant all those years ago when she told Sarah that she was touched by death in life. Odetta says, can't tell you that. Only the fates can tell you what that means. Thanks for nothing. And Odetta is like described as this very old, cranky woman.
Yeah.
She's been working there since, for decades, and is, described as nearing the end of her life. She's very elderly and kind of running on her last legs, which is why
She
Sarah was like making sure that she was breathing.
Well, and she was like Sarah's nanny, wasn't she? She was
Yeah, like
described as Sarah's
nursemaid up to
nanny.
personal maid, like,
Yeah.
played a very big hand in raising her,
Yeah.
essentially. So while she might not be the most pleasant individual, Sarah still holds, a big soft spot for her.
Mhm.
Chapter 5. Sarah goes to a chamber in Wayfair Castle to see a painting of her father named King Lamont Mirel, and he died shortly after her birth, suicide warning again, because he jumped from a tower at the castle.
Mm,
I will say, the way it was described does sound suspicious.
it's a little suspicious.
Just a little bit. The way that
Just a
it's
little
described is like he fell from the tower instead of
Right.
like jumping from the tower.
Right. And we're seasoned romantasy readers and fantasy readers. Did he?
And also in general, I mean, kings, people in general make the
Right.
choices they make, but it's like just in the span of everything, it's immediately going to be suspicious if someone were to do that.
Yeah.
She believes that her parents were mates of the heart. And I took a moment at that point and said, okay, mates of the heart.
He
Got
said,
it.
"Get it together, Megan."
She believed they were two halves of a whole and rumored that they could walk in each other's dreams, these mates of the heart. The queen joins in the room, followed by her seamstress, Andrea, and this woman named Lady Kala. The queen is not happy about Sarah being here. She's like, what the fuck are you doing here? Get out of here. She talks down to Sarah as well, continuing to bring up her failure to cure the rot. Like, bitch.
Yeah. This is another like parental childhood wound coming to the surface because
Yay.
Sarah says not when she wore her disappointment in me like a second skin. And I will not go on a whole separate tangent, but as someone who feels that so deeply, see ya, girl, see ya.
Yeah, it's relatable.
Yeah.
Sarah has stopped caring about things like that and following the rules pretty much
Good
as
for
soon as
her.
she was rejected.
Good
She
for
was
her.
like, so a part of her definitely still understands, like, girl, it's not my fault he rejected me. Like, what the
Yeah.
hell?
Yeah.
So, cut to later that night, Sarah's out for a walk because she doesn't want to be alone, but doesn't really want to be around anybody either. So, she's like, just wants to be around the public. So, she weaves her way through the streets, but comes to a stop when she feels an overwhelming warmth seep into her chest. And it's a feeling that reacts to recent death. She tries to force her gift down, she says, but it still leads her to the source. And it's one of the murdering gods. Mattis is back. But Sarah does manage to evade him as he leaves. So she's suspicious, obviously, and goes to check out the house that he's left and finds the body of Andrea, the seamstress from earlier. Feeling someone else's presence in the room, she whirls around and stabs the person who grabs her, only to be met with silver eyes of a god that she met a few weeks ago. Uh-oh, she got the stabby. Uh-oh.
Thank God. Pull me out of my little, my pool of sadness.
I know. It's like, okay, yeah, back to the stabbing of the random people.
Right.
Chapter 6. He is surprisingly chill about just being stabbed in the chest. And then, faster than she can process, the silver-eyed god once again, right in front of her, and then magically just destroys the dagger. So he, like, takes it out of his own chest, or she removes it from his chest, one or the two, and he just, like, disintegrates it.
Oh my
It's
God.
like, what? That was my blade, my guy. They continue to banter, getting witty with each other. And she says that she promises to cut his head from his body. Not the greatest idea.
Girl, she's just running her mouth to a god. She's just like,
Used to do so.
yeah.
But also, again, like, not to bring it back down, but when you don't have much self-preservation,
Right.
kind of makes sense that you would speak that way.
Right.
He asks if he doesn't scare her. What does? Meanwhile, he's also gently, like, stroking his face, or her face with his fingers. It's like, I'm just gonna inflict it again.
Yeah, and he calls her Lisa again. I'm like,
we know these terms. What is this?
What?
All he says is, you are trouble. What kind of trouble?
I'll be whatever you want me to be.
Anyway, back to the murder that they're legitimately standing over, pretty much. Also common with Poppy and Castile, where they're just, like, having a moment amongst, you know, within a carriage among not human remains, but remains, as they do. He doesn't say, you know, I've been watching you, just like he said he would, but not because he felt he needed to, but because he wanted to. I don't know how I feel about that. I'm like, I almost would feel better if it says that you felt that you needed to, rather than that you wanted to stalk me.
Yeah,
I don't know what's better.
Yeah, it is a little conflicting at this point. It's like, we'll see.
Yeah, I'm like, okay, like, you know, surprising me amongst the streets is one thing, but then telling me that I've been watching you because I feel like I really want to, like, I'm gonna ask you to step away from me.
I'm gonna ask you to please back the fuck up.
We find out that if a mortal is not given a proper ceremonial burning, their soul simply ceases to exist. So it does not enter the Shadowlands, it does not enter the Abyss. You're just poof. Yeah. Nothing. And wow, that's a terrifying thought.
It is. It's also like there's a little blurb in there about like the whole communication and roles between primals and gods, like who's responsible for what. And it's like, it's giving that no one wants accountability here, guys. Like no one's wanting to.
Not my problem. No, thank you. And they're like, well, it's someone's problem. Who's gonna fix it? Who's gonna work with that?
Right.
He does confirm that he's from the Shadowlands. Then Sarah smells lilacs and notices Andrea's legs have moved. And she's like, did you do that? And he's like, no, why the fuck would I move her legs? That's so random. Why would you do that? But then she starts to breathe, and they notice that she has 4 sharpened teeth now and attacks them while letting out a very strange snarling sound. But thankfully, the god is able to stab her, and she is dead once again.
That part is terrifying.
It's terrifying to read.
Fucking scary.
The way that it's like described as she's like crouching in the corner and lunging at them,
my
I'm
God,
like,
I know.
Oh my god, it's so creepy, so scary. He says that it's best not to mention what you just seen. It's like a dodoy. You think? No, I'm actually gonna go tell everybody about the monster woman that just came back to life in front of my eyes.
After I stabbed a god in the chest.
After I stabbed the god in the chest. Yeah. And he didn't kill me.
Right.
She also asks what Lisa means, and he says it means many different things, but all are something beautiful and powerful.
Okay. It's not very fucking direct.
All right, cryptic. Chapter 7, we cut to a day later. As she trains blindfolded, as she did in an earlier scene, she's thinking about how she needs a new dagger in order to carry out her duty if the primal ever returns. Like, she needs Shadowstone for that. Ezra interrupts her training, as she's followed Sarah here, even though it's supposed to be secret, so I definitely got a big feeling of, like, Samwise interrupting the Council of Elrond. But he's like, it seems very hard to separate you two, even though when he's summoned to a secret meeting and you're not. She's like, well, I'm here anyway.
Right.
Sarah and Ezra leave together. So, like, what's Ezra need? She describes that the Lady of Mercy, who are also within the line of sex work, it sounds like, have a young girl at their inn where they work out of, their place of residence, who has been beaten by her father, as well as used like a sex worker, only non-consensually. So, like, and she's a child. Disgusting. This girl also has a brother who is still with the father. So we learn that he's essentially selling this child out for sex and also beating her, as well as the brother. So it's like, all right, give me his name. I'll go fucking kill him.
Yeah.
The boy is also used as a thief, so he also needs rescuing from this shitbag of a dad, which is where Sarah comes in. So it's like, hey, can you go rescue this boy? Like, just like, if the dad happens to drop dead, it
No big
happens,
deal.
whatever.
It's no big deal.
So Ezra spends time, secretly aiding who needs it most. So we're like, oh, okay, so your brother's like an absolute shitbag, but you're a good person.
Right.
Okay, great.
Yeah. We like Ezra.
Yeah, we do like Ezra. The buildings in Crofts Cross, which is where they are headed, which is the poorer parts of town, they are tightly packed in, they lack electricity, and some don't even have any plumbing. So, much like this country that we live in, keep the poor poorer and the rich richer.
Yeah.
Sarah quickly locates this man named Noor, as well as the boy, and poses for someone that is looking to work for him in order to get him alone. There's also a woman that's there with him that clearly is, sprouting a black eye from also being beat. They get alone, and he says that she has to prove herself in order to get the job. So she's playing along and straddles him, distracts him while she pulls a knife and then slices his throat. Woohoo!
Yeah.
It was nice.
Before she killed him, like, and he's just even listening to the audio back when he's calling her girly over and over. I had such a visceral reaction to that. Like,
It's
just
disgusting.
absolutely enraging because that term is totally seen as like I cannot talk. Infantilizing.
Yep, you got it.
Or demeaning, right? And specifically, like, even if you just look up the standard definition of it, it's befitting for girls or young women. And I just was like, a fucking dirty, rotten pervert.
Yeah, and even Sarah in her monologue is like, "You call me girly one more time," and he did, and very soon after slices his throat.
Right.
So we're very happy that it goes that way.
We are.
Once he's dead, she also steals his money. Hell yeah.
That's right.
And she also gives that money to the girl that was with him. So she doesn't take it for herself. She's like, just get the hell out of here before anyone notices you.
Yeah.
The warming in her chest then returns. And then we get confirmation that her gifts let her bring those that have just died back to life. She can't heal people like Poppy or read emotions, but she can bring recently dead people back to life. Whoa.
Got a necromancer.
Oh, yeah. Yes. Sarah then finds the boy, Nate, and they leave together, and then meets up with Ezra once more in the carriage with the boy. Sarah confirms that the man is dead, but by accident. He ran into my knife 10 times, And she's like, oh, it happens. She says, men with careless fists should be more mindful of where they step.
Love that. I think I'm going to write that on my whiteboard as daily affirmations.
I fucking love her. Cause yeah, she mentions that like he tripped and fell down some stairs or something. So that's why she's like, should be careful where they step. Oh, it's delightful.
So good.
Chapter 9. Later, Sarah is on her way to the lake. She is going over how many people that she's killed and has never felt an ounce of remorse for them. We find out she has killed 14 people. She walks through the woods and sees a brownish red Kiyu wolf, and they're hurt. They've been shot by an arrow, and she can't help but, like, reach out to it. And she actually does use her gift in this moment to bring it back to life. Once again, like you just said, necromancer, hello.
That's right.
So yeah, she uses her gift because of the power that lays in such a choice. Or like, she refuses to use her gift, I'm sorry. She normally does not do it because it's like, that's a lot of power in that. Like, this person or thing is dying or is dead. and you are bringing them back. Like, you don't know what repercussions that has on their soul or anything like that.
Any type, you have to keep the balance. There's always a sense of balance.
And her gift has been linked to Coelus, the primal of life and king of gods. She arrives to the lake and undresses, lets her hair down, then starts going swimming. As she relaxes and starts floating, she gets the feeling that she's being watched and comes to attention. She notices at the waterfall at the edge of the lake, she sees a dark spot with a shadow behind it. Shadow's moving forward. But guess who? It's the silver-eyed god again. Hey. And they start bantering. Of course.
And Sarah does not give a fuck. Of course.
No. She's just like, what are you doing here?
Yeah,
it's my lake. And he's like, what do you mean it's your lake?
What are you doing in my waters?
Yeah. Get out of my swamp. And I'm not bringing this back to Shrek. I will not let my brain do this again.
Oh, I was going to old Greg. Have a drink,
I'm
Bailey's
cool with
from a
old
shoe?
Greg. That's fine.
You have a drink, Bailey. What you doing in my waters, boy?
As much as she thinks that he has followed her there, like, he was like, I was actually here first. I didn't just happen to sneak in and then hide behind a waterfall in the moment that it took you. Like, math doesn't math, girlfriend. But she remains possessive. But he's like super hot and really good with his words. And then he describes her, and he describes her as looking like a goddess made of silver and moonbeams rising from the depths of the darkest lake. More moon, more moonbeams.
Yeah. So let's just do a little check-in real quick. For our crossover, right? Because I'm fucking on this.
You're on top of this moon shit.
I'm on this. So from Blood and Ash, right? Moonlight keeps appearing whenever Poppy is encountering Hawk. Then we learn Hawk Steel, right? It keeps coming. Her power, the ether that's flowing through her, right? That we learn is Castiel describes as moonlight. Well, now we meet Sarah, who has a crescent-shaped tattoo. Okay. She's presented, even though she's rejected, but the temple she's presented at has the crescent-shaped chairs. And now we have this god describing her as a goddess made of silver and moonbeams. Not to mention, when Poppy was in the temple at the end of Flesh and Fire, in a nutshell, the goddess that comes through Poppy, I feel, is Sarah.
Oh, that's right. She does have the silver-haired.
Yes. And at the end of, when Castiel has been taken, I think, she's summoning Sarah. She's working through her. So
okay, we will keep an eye on this space.
We're gonna pin that right on the fridge.
Yes. Sarah orders him to leave, and so he's like, all right. And he starts to walk out of the lake, and then it's revealed, like, obviously he's also naked, because it's like, swimsuits don't exist, thank God. And we get like a sneaky peek at his body, and he has tattoos, which it's like, oh.
Yeah.
As soon as he's leaving the water, like, just enough to like see what he's packing, Sarah's like, no, stop. And it's like, you fucking tease. Come on, Sarah. They continue bantering, and she keeps threatening him, even though she has no weapons whatsoever.
Yeah. Yeah. And they, like, this is the one comment that he said, right? Because I fell for him so early on. For me, this was the first thing that I kind of got an ick from. At first I got an ick and then I sat with it, but he's kind of like picking on her a little bit, because I think that she said something like, how inappropriate of you to be looking at my, I'm indisposed. And he's like, considering you're nude in a lake with an unfamiliar man whose lip you bit upon meeting and have seen the bare backs of many sailors, I was only being polite. And so at first I was like, misogyny, are you being a prick? But then I kind of thought about it, and I was like, you know what, for the poetic sense of the book, I'm gonna think that Sarah has finally met someone acting as a mirror.
Just pointing out the black and whiteness of the situation. It's like, what? It's like, oh, hard to, I think even Sarah's like, well, hard to kind of argue with that.
Exactly.
So, like, without realizing it on her end, she also has started to stand out of the water, revealing the beautiful boobies that she has. And the god says, just so you know, this is me intentionally staring.
Yeah, and then reeled me right back in.
Yeah. And then we finally get a name. He says that some call him Ash. So, meet Ash, everybody.
Ash.
Hi, Ash.
So fucking good. So good.
And I'm fairly certain at this moment, within the BBC, I was writing in the threads that we had for these books, and I'm like, oh my god, his name is Ash, like from Blood and Ash. And like,
You know what's so sad? I didn't even think of that.
the name of the book.
So I was so convinced. Because I think I think that is like, we're already past page 100 when we hit that. So I legitimately thought we were going to go the whole book and get his name at the end. That is like, I was so, I was like, oh, that'd be such a cool move on JLA to like keep you intrigued the entire way. So no, when we got the name, I was just excited that we just got it.
Ash exits the water and like dead ass. And we also get to see more of his tattoo. It's a circular swirl that like starts in his back and it expands out with the tendrils extending over his sides. So it's like starting in a circular on the center of his back that like expands out to his back and over his sides. And it's like, oh, that's cool. He tells her that she should come out and dress, so she does. Then he tells her, hey, unsheath your knife, because we're not alone here. It's like, okay. So we have seen these monsters before that are now described. Let's see if we remember. Skin is leached of color. They have black eyes. Grotesque mouths that are sewn shut. It's a germ! Hey! Specifically, it's a type of germ called a hunter. They are... Hunters look for things, so they are looking for something. They wouldn't be here otherwise. Ash starts to take down one after another, as Sarah insists. They banter while they fight. Familiar. And he even mentions how he likes when she fights in flimsy clothing. Okay.
Well,
Castile, where are you?
right.
Where are you?
Right.
One germ's mouth widens, and the way that this is described gave me chills.
Oh my god,
It
I know.
opens so that the stitches split and a snake comes slithering out of it. And Sarah hates snakes just as much as Poppy does, which is just as much as Indiana Jones does. And no thank you. And she hates them so much so that she sees one near her feet and then slips and falls, then knocking herself out. And if that wasn't goddamn relatable.
Oh yeah, definitely. Oh my gosh.
She wakes up sometime later and Ash is kind of like, she sees his head kind of like hovering over her. And she then starts to like take in the finer features of his face and tells him that he's beautiful. It's like, and then her head is actually resting in his lap.
And it was in this gentle moment that I became a simp.
Yeah, he's like very, very delicately touching her and being very gentle with her.
At first, I was not sure, like, with them meeting, I was like, I don't know, I kind of want her to stay independent. But it was just this moment where I was like, her being so, like, allowing the touching and stuff. I was just like, I like them together.
Yeah, they're cute together. They are. It's a very sweet moment.
Yeah.
We get our first lore alert. Woo! Unfortunately, it's about the germs. So, as I've said, these are different from the ones that we know because there's two types. So there's hunters, but then there's this other kind that I forgot to write down the name of. So the germs are mortals who summoned a god. So these ones, I should say, are mortals who summoned a god and pledged themselves to eternal service in exchange for whatever they requested of said god. And after they died, they become these germs. The mouths being stitched closed is like a loyalty thing. And unfortunately, snakes have replaced their insides, which is why one came out of one's mouth. Ew. Simply ew.
Ugh.
As we've said, Sarah's head is in Ash's lap, and he's like tracing slow circles along her collarbones while he talks to her. And he's like, I think the germs were looking for me. And then to her surprise, he asks her if his touching her bothers her. But it does not. Ash asks if he could tell her a secret, one that she could never repeat. And to that I say, is that not a secret by definition? And when he said that, I was like, can I tell you a secret? One that you can't, like, ever tell anybody else? It's like, yeah, that's a secret. Are you trying to mansplain a secret to me or what? Like, what's going on here?
Yeah.
And, But either way, he tells her that Sarah's histories about gods, primals, and Elysium are not entirely accurate. What we get another brief little lore alert about primals and gods here. Primals, the primals that they know of now were not always so powerful. And some gods walk both realms longer than primals. So just because they're primals and the most powerful beings now, to the contrary of what they've been taught, like, they weren't always the head honchos. And that's kind of all we get about that. And I'm like, okay. Ash comments on killing in general and says that it should always affect the person no matter how many times they've killed. And Sarah's like, oh. I won't comment. She also tries to call him a pervert. I forget why, but she calls him a pervert again, or tries to, even though that she's very much staring at him. She asks, like, why haven't you left yet? Because I think he's commenting on, like, her thin straps or something.
Mm-hmm.
And, he's like, well, you could have left, and I could have left. We both are still here. Why is that? And chapter 12 starts, and he is straight up with her. Hey, you interest me. I interest you. 1 + 1 = 2. And Ash brings up the killing again and says that he's had to kill when he's only had to. Like, he does not enjoy killing.
Yeah.
And tells her that his first kill was his most difficult because he had to kill a friend. We don't really get too much more into that. And Sarah, being too nervous to be so open, she just, like, pivots and's like, I don't like gowns.
Yeah.
It's like, okay. And she specifically says that she doesn't like her thighs rubbing together. And you know what? Thunder's thighs save lives.
They do.
They do.
They do.
I was like, oh, relatable. That's why
Yeah.
I don't like the summer and wearing dresses. But thankfully, booty shorts exist, and that has done a world of difference for chafing for me.
Well, and they have, I can't remember what the product is, but there's like it's like in a stick. It's not deodorant, but
I've
it's
never
like,
used it before.
it's, I'll have to look it up.
Some kind of chub rub thing, even though that term is really icky.
I know. Yeah, they have like the patches and stuff. The only little tidbit I was going to add in here that might be worth putting a pin in.
Yeah.
Ash does mention his friend's name was Lathan and that he had to kill him to prevent many others from being killed. So that is the only thing that I was like, I feel like we're going to revisit that later.
Thank you for adding said detail.
Yeah.
Good
I was like,
detail to put a pin in.
Yeah, we're going to put a pin in that.
Yeah, Ash tells her of the Shadowlands and, explains, in the Shadowlands, there's the Abyss and the Veil. But the entrance to the Shadowlands is like a city, once beautiful, until it was destroyed by death. And that's like, oh, very interesting visual.
Yeah. He also brings up, and of course, I'm like looking for now at this point, now that we've had like Lisa mentioned, we've had like several parallels mentioned. Now I'm like a bloodhound, right? I'm like, what is it? But Ash tells Sarah that she reminds him of a flower that grew in the Shadowlands, right? As he's like giving her some background on this. And he's saying, here it is again. Petals were the color of moonlight. Okay, now I'm just going crazy. And they remained folded in on themselves until someone approached. When they opened, they appeared incredibly delicate. Okay, we know that. I think Sarah has been described up to this point as fairly beautiful, right? She's a beautiful girl. As if they would shatter in the softest wind, but they grew wildly and fiercely. Oh yeah, that's pretty accurate.
Yeah.
And that they grow between the cracks of stone and they were unincredibly predictable. And I just want to say that's just such an incredible testament to resilience, both in this book and in real life. I'm like, I love that. I'm going to hold on to that.
Yeah, it's a really wonderful comparison and representation of her. The rest of Elysium, he explains, is vibrant, except during the brief night hours. And he speaks of Delos, which is the city of the gods, where Coelus resided. And we get a loving endearment of Sarah talking about clawing Ash's eyes out.
Love it. So
back
sweet.
to the banter.
He's like, oh, you remind me of this flower. And she's like, I'm going to claw your eyes out.
Yeah, it's like, calm the fuck down, okay?
Yeah.
Okay? Girly. I know we said we don't like calling her girly, but like, girlfriend.
Right.
Calm yourself. Anyway, yeah, like back to the banter. And he says that he needs to kiss her. And she's like, let me think this over. I feel something. So yeah, why the fuck not? Go for it.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah. It's a soft, quick kiss, and she says that she liked it, but it's hardly a proper kiss.
You know what, though? Honestly,
Uh,
hats off to her, because she's like, if you're going to do it right.
yeah. Yep. And like she wants to know what it was like to feel wanted, to feel desired, to be cherished. She just wants to feel anything. So it's like, it's hardly a good kiss, like whatever. And then he's like, all right, say less. Round 2, this time with tongue. He has one hand on the nape of her neck and another is cupping her cheek. And I am always a sucker for that. Whenever you're like, it's a holding in place kind of deal. I love that shit.
Yeah.
And his skin feels cool, always has, like I said earlier. Your skin is pale white and ice cold. His skin is not pale white. So get out of my head, Bella.
Say it.
No, Sarah wants him closer, so she tucks him closer, and then he lowers her to her back. So we are escalating. It is no longer a kiss here. We are makeout session, full makeout. He asks if that was satisfactory, and she says it was fine. It could impress me more.
You could do better.
So I'm like, is this flirting? Is this what flirting is?
Right.
Then they kiss again, round 3. And this time he's tracing his hand up her leg and under the slip of her dress.
And she says, in this moment, I didn't think I'd ever been gladder that I wasn't wearing pants. Facts. Me too, girl. We're glad too.
We are too. Chafed thighs or no. Then he does stop for only a moment until he looks up and sees that the slip has dropped down below her chest, and so her boobies are hanging out. And he's like, all right, never mind. And then he starts kissing his way down and sucks on one boobie, switches over to the other, give them equal attention. And then Sarah wants the hand on his thigh to go where she wants him most. And so she reaches down and moves it. And then he tells her to show him what she wants. Just do it with his hand.
He is talking her through it. This is a talk her through it.
It's a talk her through it, but also show me through it.
Yeah.
It's a very interesting, like, both sides are having some kind of, like, show me, tell me kind of deal. It's so fucking hot.
It is.
And then she like has him put a finger in and then another finger in, and then she's just riding it. Like she's holding his hand in place, like moving his fingers as she wants, and then he drops this fucking line.
I have to cover my face.
He says, "That's it, Lisa. Fuck my hand." And that's where I melted. And she rides that fucking hand. My God.
My face hurts.
After she finishes, Sarah then starts cupping his dick to, return the pleasure that he's just given, but he refuses because he says if they go any further, he's fucking her full on.
Yeah.
And that's something that she would regret. It's like, are you sure? Really? But also, I think we talked about this with Lady M in the Under the Covers as well. It's like, in those moments, it's like, these fantasy men love to say, like, if I go any further, I don't know if I'll be able to stop. And it's like, actually, you could, but we get it. It's fantasy, so we find it hot, and that's okay.
Yeah, and they, like, this little aftercare session that starts, he's, like, counting her freckles.
Yeah. Very sweet little moment. And he has this like throwaway line with saying, I don't have much experience with everything debauching entails. They also talk about debauching, but I'm like, I love this constant word of debauching.
I know, because I love using the word debauchery, and now I just think of this.
Yeah, but that has my ears perk up, and I'm like, virgin? Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. A very different way of things. I'm like,
yeah, it's
right.
like, is that why he was telling her, show me what you want? Because he may have no experience.
Yeah. It also reminded me a lot, not exactly, but it reminded me of Outlander when Jamie says, he's like, I said I was a virgin, not a monk. It's like, okay. So he might not know everything to do, but He knows some things. They finish their makeout sesh, and Ash says that he should go, so he starts to gather his things, and they say goodbye. After he leaves, Sarah thinks on how she shouldn't remember all of the things that they've done because she'll never have anything like it again. So it's like easier just to forget that this ever happened than think on it, have this memory, and know that it will never happen again. It's like, oh, my heart.
The detachment.
Yeah.
Detachment.
And she also realizes that she never gave him her name. And after Ash leaves, the birds begin making noise again, as they were when she arrived. Chapter 14. The next day, Ezra tells Sarah that there was a riot in Crofts Cross last night. There was a protest against the crown, and no action against the right then that night turned into a riot. Because the guards showed up and incited violence. That doesn't sound at all like what the current police do at protests. Worth taking this moment. This is after the hands-off protests happened in the U.S., which is a marvelous thing to witness on TikTok.
Mm-hmm.
And I also need to take a moment. I know we are not we are not focused on discussing politics at this podcast, but it's impossible to not bring them up in these moments.
Yep.
I just have to point out that none of those protests turned violent because there was no violence incited by the police, and wow, I wonder why that is.
Yep.
That's all I'm going to say about that.
Right there with you on that. Right there with you.
Moving on, Sarah gets it immediately, and she's like, the guards could have handled it differently so that they don't but they don't de-escalate, they only escalate. That's all they know how to do. So very similar parallels to our current day living out here in the real world.
Mm-hmm.
As much as we love the escapism of these books, the authors are still like, but remember. And it's like, yes, we must remember. It's important to remember those things.
These works are derived from facets of truth.
100%. She chooses not to tell Ezra about Ash, but Ezra can still tell something's up. So Sarah makes a run to the kitchen to grab some leftover food. Essentially is like, I'm gonna go grab leftover food to go distribute it to all those people, actually. Bye.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, yeah, she's getting out of there. But we learned this is something that Sarah has done for quite a while.
Yeah. And this is like, in the same breath, I will stay aligned with our book. But this parallel of Sarah taking food from the kitchen out to the families whose farms have been ravaged by the rot. Let me try and stay focused because, again, my feed has been very weird this week because, Coachella is going on right now.
Yes.
So I'm getting videos of that and videos of everything else going on. So it's just very odd paradigm.
It is.
But yeah, Sarah doing this, it's very much like the 1%, right?
Yeah.
Very much the 1%. And here is Sarah, like, these are our people. Like, I have to provide. But I also think because she feels responsible for the rot, I think that's why she's doing that also.
Yeah, there's definitely multiple reasons at play for why she's doing this.
Yeah.
And it also just goes to show, like, the waste of the royals, because this food that they were throwing out, they're like, yeah, some of the apples are bruised. Okay, and, like, you haven't eaten a bruised apple before? Like, it's one thing if it's, like, rotten, obviously, but bruised.
Yeah.
So,
and, like, I can't tell you, again, like, the whole reason I even brought up, the festival life, because I used to be in that crowd. The waste that happens at the ends of these events is unreal. I'm not shaming anyone that goes to them. They're a great time. They're fun, but there's this unspoken law that everyone understands. It's this word called moop, like clean your moop. Whatever you pack in, you pack out. Mm-hmm. So yeah, like the whole waste aspect, it's on my brain really fresh right now. So that's why I'm like translating it into this book. But putting notes together for this at the time everything is going on, it's just infuriating.
Oh yeah, it's like, it's one thing to see little hints here and there. It's another to be flooded by it every day, all the time.
Yes.
Yeah, so it's impossible not to make those kinds of connections.
Yeah.
Sarah is poring over memories from that previous night with Ash, and then she suddenly stops and sees that the rot has spread further and faster than expected.
Mm-hmm.
So it's clearly getting worse and faster.
Yeah. And like, just real quick, the reflection of the night before, like now my partner and I have been together for 8 years. We still, I still have those moments of like, like you have a really good date or really good intimate night, and it's so good that you're thinking about it the day after, right? And it's like you just have all of the endorphins and everything going, and then bam, you got reality. Sarah's got the rot. She's got a
The realist
facelift.
of reality.
God.
Yeah, she cannot hold on to anything that is positive.
That
It's
make
immediately cut off with
Yes.
like, haha, just saying. It's like,
God, our girl deserves to have her.
dude, that's like, I'm scrolling TikTok and I'm seeing all of these hot ass like Asterion edits and I'm really living in it. And then I swipe again and it's some tragedy or some awful thing that the
I know.
fucking, administration's doing or whatever. And it's
Yeah.
like, oh God, yeah, you have a moment of like peace and then just immediately overrun with those other greater moments of despair.
I know.
So it's just hold on to those nights where you wrote a man's hand,
Yes.
You gotta hold on to those moments.
That's right.
She mentions that the smell of the rot is like stale lilacs, which is how the hunters smelled, and how Andrea smelled after rising from the dead. So we're getting a lot of like death smelling of lilacs, because if we remember that smell has come up from Blood and Ash. Not a lot, but
Lord
it's come
Mazine.
up. Yeah. No, Lord Nazine smelled like jasmine.
Oh, fuck.
Right? Wasn't it? No, it didn't have to deal with like Lord Mazine, but I'm pretty sure like Poppy has mentioned smelling stale lilacs and things when it's come to certain
she did.
aspects.
I thought it was Lord Mazine, but you're right. He was Jasmine.
Yeah. But that is what Sarah said that she smelled like at the beginning when she was getting prepared in the prologue. She said that she smelled like jasmine. So there's floral jasmine and lilacs at play here that we need to keep in our minds. Sarah briefly converses with a woman named Mrs. Massey, who the Crown considers lower, and Sarah feels guilty for all of their struggles. Like, the rot is encroaching on her farm. They're like, yeah, we're going to have to harvest all this stuff early and just get what we can before the rot takes over, and then we just kind of got to see what we got to do from there.
Yeah.
And none of this would be happening if she hadn't been rejected by the primal. So once again, we're having all of these encroaching negative thoughts about herself, and it's like, no.
It all ties back to it's her fault.
Yeah. She arrives at a family's house named the Coopers, who is a family of, I believe, a man, wife, and 2 or 3 children. And she has been kind of on their way to bring them food. No one answers. And then she starts to smell something. Something's off. It's the smell of decay, because she finds the family dead, laying in bed together, because they've taken some kind of potion or something to choose a quicker death over a longer one. So rather than slowly starve to death because of the rot, these parents chose to end their and their children's lives.
Yeah.
And that's really, really fucking awful.
I sobbed reading that.
It's a really, really heavy-hitting moment. Because you assume that maybe it's like the gods had been there or something, but it's even harder hitting, I would say.
Yeah.
So moving to chapter 15, Sarah leaves there and goes to see her stepfather, the king, and inform him of this family. But Tavius is also there. She's questioning, like, the king on why he has not done anything. Like, you haven't tried to do anything to prevent the rot. Like, you're just sitting back as if, like, there's nothing wrong. Like, why do you feel like you don't have a choice in this? And pretty much the Crown's like, yeah, they have no sympathy for this family.
No.
Like, he says like, oh, well, they had a choice and they chose wrong. What?
Yeah. It's
what the fuck?
Like it's your fault for the dynamics you were born into. It's your fault. And not even born into. Let me add on to that. The dynamics that you're faced with because of our doing.
Yeah, the systems put in place that keep you in that position.
It's an impossible goal to get out of.
Yeah. Because it's like, I think they even have the back and forth of like, oh, well, if they were really, that worried about their farm being overtaken, then why didn't they just get a job doing this instead? And she's like, that wouldn't have made sense. And
there's no
jobs. They
could
have done this. They could have, there's no jobs. And he's just like, what do you mean? Of course there's jobs. And I'm like, that's all too familiar for too many people in this country.
Yep.
Girl, yeah. Like that conversation grinded my gears so fucking hard. And like
is hitting much harder reading this series and any fantasy series at this point in time that we're living in. than any other
is.
time I've read.
Yeah. No, I 100% agree.
Yeah.
Well, Sarah wants to help those who are starving. The king and Tavius could not care less. Like, well, what about us? What about us? Like, if we're giving out all of our food and it's a socialist society, so everyone just gets a cut of everything, we're going to run out faster. And then what? And she's like, we'd figure it out. Like, what do you mean?
Right.
And so it all also ties back to why that allegiance at the beginning of the book was denied, is because where Lasagna is like begging for allegiances so that they can keep importing more food because they're not able to grow anything because of the rot. But essentially, like, they've become lesser than, even in the hierarchy of like the cliques of the crowns, is how I would describe it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's infuriating. And also talking about this in the setting that they are within this banquet hall.
Yeah, because Sarah even says it, like, in her dialogue. She's points out that the parallel, like, of the banquet hall full of food that I just stumbled across, and these families are starving. Again, it's giving 1%.
Super hard. And she does not hold back when she speaks to Tavius. Like, she talks to him in the manner he rightfully fucking deserves, and we love her for that. The king splits them up and, like, forces him to leave. He's like, Tavius, just fucking leave. And at that moment, I'm pretty sure Tavius throws a bowl at her.
He does.
And she has to, like, block it, and it, like, hits her arm.
It does. Like, and the bowl breaks on her arm. So he hit it hard enough in a close enough distance that it broke on her arm. Like, and not the stepfather justifying Tavius because he's worried and he can't express his feelings. Yeah, like, get out of here.
It's such the pity party that, like, the straight white men try to throw for themselves. It's what's the current thing, like, sweeping the nation? It's like the lonely white men or whatever. I don't know. There's like some.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. It's like the epidemic of these poor white boys that are all they're straight and they're so alone. The loneliness epidemic, and it's like, shut up, God. Because like, it's only when Sarah is alone with the king that he, like, kind of switches up his tone and is a little bit kinder with her. Like, he asks if she's okay, and she's like, yeah, I'm fine.
Yeah.
It's like, what? The double, like, just the contradictory behavior is infuriating.
And the last note on that whole interaction, he threatens Sarah, the stepfather does. He threatens Sarah that, like, if she's to hit Tavius, that she's going to be locked in her room for a week. And the only thing that he threatens Tavius with is getting, like, punched in the face. And I'm like, not saying that either of those, lesser of two evils, but for him to pose at the woman, you're going to be locked up and cut off from everything. Whereas with a man, you're just going to get a slap on the wrist, essentially.
Yeah. Men.
Misogyny.
He assures her that, no, we just need to wait. It's all gonna get fixed. Don't worry your little head.
Shut up!
Like,
not you.
Oh my God. I know, not me, but, like, yeah, no, I feel that. It's like, oh my God, shut up.
Yeah.
And so after Sarah leaves, she's on her way to find Sir Holland and starts to hear someone crying for help. So, of course, being the kind person that she is, she follows it and locates a woman kneeling in the center of a dark room. And she'd seen this woman earlier in the kitchens as well, but, like, it was just a very quick interaction. So Sarah enters and asks if she is okay, and the woman just says, I'm sorry, and the door shuts because it's a trap. Alrighty. So, chapter 16. 3 guards have cornered her in a room, saying that they were paid to grab her.
She's cornered. Okay. She's cornered, but wait, she's a badass.
That she is, because she fights and kills them all in fabulous fashion. It's glorious to read. There's only one person that would possibly have the coin to hire them to kidnap a royal. Tavius, her own stepbrother. As she goes to leave, she hears more people coming, and then a god enters, her mother with them. What the fuck? And then Sarah lies, and because there's bodies all around, all over the place, and she's covered in blood, and she's like, I just found them like this, and then leaves. And she's like, yeah, I'm gonna go. And her mom's like, yeah, sure, you found them. Okay. The next day, Ezra has been filled in and is a voice of reason. So Sarah's told her all about this this attack that happened. But she's like, Tavius wouldn't try to kill the only thing that can fix the rot. Like, he's terrible, a terrible person. He's not stupid. Like, he's not gonna do that. So it's like, all right, back to square one. Who the fuck would have done that?
Right.
Ezra then informs Sarah that the god that she saw her mom with yesterday is someone named Callum, and he is from the court of Delos.
Mm-hmm. And he has a painted mask on, doesn't he?
I think so.
Did I
think
read that
it's
incorrectly?
something painted. He's described as being painted in some
Okay, I wanted to make
fashion.
sure
I don't know.
before I continued, I'm pretty sure that it's described that he has a painted mask on. And so I was like, oh, that sounds familiar. And then I remembered the handmaiden that was in the crypt, right? Where Poppy and the whole party had fallen at the end of Crown of Guild and Bones. She had a mask painted on.
I think you're right. Yes.
So my brain is like, there's some type of influence at play. There's some type of something.
Something's happening.
Something.
She then goes and walks outside, and they spot a stranger that seems untouched by the sunlight, standing with a horse. So Sarah's like, I'm going to check this out. This is also a god. His name is Hector, not Hector. Hector. And he has a narrow wooden box for her. Weird. So she takes it and goes to open it, and it's a dagger. And it is described, this is a gorgeous weapon. The hilt made from a smooth white material, pommel in the shape of a crescent moon, the blade about 7 inches long and shaped like a thin hourglass. Along the blade was etched on the sides of the blade is a dragon, and the dagger is made out of shadowstone. She has also never been given a gift before, at all. We wonder who that could be from. I don't know. But, like, I love the description of this dagger. It is so cool.
Listen, I'm an absolute slut for weaponry. Okay. All right. And reading that, I was like, oh my God, I need it. I need it.
Chapter 17. We find out that, unfortunately, Odetta has passed into the veil.
And no one even told Sarah.
Yeah, I think she just found out, right?
She found out when they were changing her bed sheets.
Yes, that's right.
So it's like just another example of how, she's never taken into consideration for literally anything.
Yeah. So Sarah attends the, her funeral pyre because they need to be burned, so that their soul can then
pass on,
travel on to the veil. So we cut to the morning before the rite at this point, and she's got another headache, her jaw's aching, and training is just not going great. So Sir Holland's like, have the day off. And she's like, what? Okay. Shortly after, he brings in her drink, or she brings her a drink, saying that it should help kind of the grogginess and the aching and, the pain. She quickly drinks it, and then he says that she reminds him of Sotoria.
Who's
now
that?
We get a little bit of a deeper lore alert on Sotoria. She is the woman who was so frightened of a god that she fell from the cliffs of sorrow to her death. But there is more to that story, because it didn't end with her death. The god who caused her death believed that he was in love with her, like a love at first sight scenario. He became obsessed with bringing her back to life, though he was warned that she was at peace and it was not right. But he still found a way to do it. She rose and was not grateful, and legend does not tell of how long she lived her second life. So Sarah reminds Holland of Sotoria because she has fought back through all of the hardships that she's ever faced. So Sarah finishes her tea, and he tells her that she might feel drowsy, after finishing it, which she does. She takes a nap. When she wakes up, she does not have any aches. Hooray. And I will say, I got very, very nervous for her when he brings in this thing and was like, oh, it'll still be warm. You got to drink it really fast, though. I'm like, why?
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
I don't like that.
A little suspicious.
Yeah, thankfully nothing happens. Like, it is all well-meaning. Like, he's very straight up with her. Like, it's not a sleeping draft because she's told him, like, I don't want anything like that. So it, like, had my hairs raising for a minute, and then I calmed down afterwards.
Yeah.
She wakes up and goes to brush her teeth, and then ends up spitting out blood. It's like, uh-oh, that's not good.
That's a little suspicious.
Yeah. We come to the afternoon of the rite, and Sarah is at the Sun Temple. And the temple is packed, including the king, queen, and her step-siblings that are, like, sitting at the front, and then she's in, like, the shadowy alcove near the back. And she makes a point that watching her mother interact so nicely with Ezra makes Sarah think about what her life would have been like if she was not this maiden.
Yeah.
And it's really sad.
That part really hurt.
Yeah. That punched me in the gut. Like, I was
That
like, oh
really
my
did.
God. Then, of course, Tavius spots her and has to point her out to her mother. So it's like, what the fuck? Because Sarah is not supposed to be at the rite. As she turns to leave, she feels a breeze enter where they're all located, and then the realm splits open like before. Ether is pouring out of the hole, and silver light forms the shape of a tall male. However, this is Colas now. He has golden hair and skin and is wearing white clothing scattered with bits of gold, as well as a gold band encircling one bicep. He declares the chosen worthy and goes to leave before spotting Sarah in her alcove, and she feels his hot stare as warm as the warmth she feels with her gift. So, like, everyone is bowing to him and not making eye contact, but she's risking it by, like, looking up at him, trying to, like, sneak a peek. And that's when he's like, ha, caught you. And it's very terrifying. Like, this is a primal. This is someone that can, like, snap of a finger and you're dust. Later that night, Sarah walks the primal gardens as fireworks begin in the harbor. And I say, fireworks? Okay, cool.
All right, let's do it.
Alrighty, man. She starts to hear someone whisper her name and then spots Ezra, but she is speckled with blood. No. Immediately, Sarah's like, do you need help burying a body? And my girl, I love her. I love her for that.
I know. It's such
Immediate
like a girl's
reaction.
girl moment. She's like,
Yeah.
you mean to help you bury a body? And she's like, Sarah.
Yeah. First check, be like, hey, are you okay? Is this your blood? No, it's not my blood. Okay, great. Who did you kill and do you need my help? And yeah, Ezra's like, that's really twisted. And Sarah's like, well, if you needed my help, I would.
I just, not to get on a whole separate tangent, just that little interaction was just such a relatable girl moment. I was like,
100%.
oh my gosh, so funny.
Oh, I've had those exchanges, not like with one of my friends covered in blood, but like at least over text being like, oh yeah, if you ever needed me, 100% would. So one of Ezra's longest friends, who has been helping her with these abused kids in the lower city, was unfortunately caught in a bar fight by accident while trying to retrieve one of these kids, and unfortunately hit her head and has died. And Ezra is pleading with Sarah to bring her back to life. Chapter 18. So when Sarah and Ezra were younger, Sarah's cat Butters, this is Butters,
was a cat.
He had died, and she used her gift to bring him back to life. So, woof.
And then after she did that, the queen found out and had Butters captured and killed. It's another reason we hate her.
Fucking rude. Ezra's friend is named Marisol, and Ezra truly does love her friend and continues pleading with Sarah to bring her back, even though Sarah's like, yeah, I brought Butters back. Butters was a cat. This is a human. Like,
This is
I don't know.
Different.
Yeah, like a human soul. Like, she's at rest. She could be at peace right now. And like, bringing her back, like, I don't know. But she agrees to and tries to use her gift. She sees a whitish glow come from her hands, which is the ether. And this has never happened before. She's never seen that glow come out of her. The gift recedes and nothing happens until Marisol's hands start moving. Thankfully, it worked, and she does not have fangs, so she is not like Andrea. There's no smell of lilacs, there's no fangs, there's no coming at your throat trying to attack you, so it seems all is well and it's worked. Then Ezra kisses Marisol, so it's like, they're more than friends.
I know.
Yeah. So Ezra hugs Sarah in thanks, and Sarah says that it's the first time that someone has ever hugged her, and my heart breaks.
I know.
Sarah does, though, feel a dread within her because she used her powers to play like a primal, and who knows what is going to be happening because of that.
Yeah. I feel like just on Ezra, like, because of the interactions that she has with Sarah are so sweet and so unconditional, right? I feel like Ezra kind of in a way resembles like the match that keeps Sarah's flame alive, because Ezra is the one little spark amongst this group of people that we're getting to understand within Sarah's dynamic, right?
Yeah.
And Ezra even tells her in that same interaction of bringing Mari back, she says, "You're a blessing, Sarah." I saw, I'm not going to cry right now. I'm not going to cry, but saying you're a blessing, Sarah, after Sarah has been told I'm not going to cry. Sarah has been told her entire life that you're not doing enough and you're doing everything wrong. And I just, in a way, like you and a lot of people in the book club have kind of been that for me, right? Where I have like had so much in my outside life try to beat me down and tell me that I'm not enough and that I'm too much. And so I just reading this just hit really hard.
Uh,
It just hit really hard. So I love Ezra. I love that we have her to keep Sarah's flame alive.
yeah,
That's
agreed.
what I interpret it as right now.
Absolutely. It's 100%. That is a really great way of putting that and seeing that. Yeah, she's that light in the crazy amount of darkness that has overwhelmed Sarah's life from the beginning.
Yeah.
So it's, well, she of course tells Sarah that she's a blessing. Ezra is kind of a blessing in her own right.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Moving to chapter 19, which is where we're going to be getting a trigger warning for assault here.
Like a big one.
Big old trigger warning.
Big
Like,
one.
rereading this is quite terrifying.
Yeah.
So that night, Sarah wakes up from some strange dreams and finds Tavius in her rooms. He is clearly drunk and he's taunting her. She goes to reach for her dagger under her pillow, but he's found it. And, whatever desk he's like standing next to, he stabs it into the desk. She tries to take her opportunity and go for it, but he's faster than she plans and he grabs her, then throws her down onto the bed and like lays down on top of her, pinning her there. And she goes into a lot of description as far as not being able to breathe. It's very suffocating. It's very, very triggering and very like claustrophobic. And JLA writes it very, very well and gets that point clearly across.
Yeah.
He reveals that he is now the king because his father died from some sort of heart ailment in the night. Be that natural causes or not, who fucking knows? I am guessing it's not, but can't be sure.
Right.
In now being the king, he has stripped her of any and all protections. He has sent Sir Holland away to the Vodina Isles, which is essentially a death sentence because that is the place where Sarah sent back the decapitated head of their lord. So he has sent him off to die. Awful. Fucking awful. So she is well and truly alone. Sarah asks, like, why have you always hated me? Like, she just gets down to brass tacks. Like, all these years, I have done fucking nothing to you. Like, what did I ever do that makes you hate me so much? And his answer is that she could make a claim for the throne if she really wanted, since she's of the royal bloodline. And, like, that's it. Just because of the if, you've chosen to berate and abuse this poor woman. Like, what the fuck? Awful. Like you said, he's Joffrey. He calls her, or he tells her to call him a king, but she says that he will never be her king. And respect. But unfortunately, he says, I was hoping you would say that, because what you just did was make a treasonous statement. It's like,
Yeah.
He calls the guards and they take her away and walk her into the Great Hall. And Tavius orders everyone out but the guards, and then has her kneel in front of the statue of Colas and has her wrists bound together and raised over her head. And then he gets his whip. He believes and compares her to a horse that needs to be broken. So he is just such an abusive piece of shit. She starts to describe retreating into herself, but instead of finding a blank canvas, she says that she finds something dark within her. And she describes icy fire starts to fill her body and looks at Tavius. Do you want to read this line? Because it's a good one. Go for it.
She says, I'm going to kill you. I will slice the hands from your body and then carve your heart from your chest before setting it on fire. I will watch you burn. And then laughs
at him. Like, God, it's so... I'm like rooting for her in this moment, but then it's just doubling down on how scared we are for her as well.
I know.
It's like
I do want to...
in the face of
I
everything.
just want to add a little point in here that she says that she channels this voice. And again, Parallels to From Blood and Ash, Poppy did the same thing at the end of Gilded Bones when Castile had been taken, and she channels this voice. So
That's right.
this ancient power, I'm like so excited to see what this is. I hate her in this moment. I hate her like where she's stuck in this moment, but yes.
Yeah.
It's like
Bringing out those parts of her, and it's just like, ooh, what's happening? After a couple of lashes, her mother and Ezra find them, and her mom's like, what the hell are you doing? And Ezra's like, what the fuck are you doing?
Mm-hmm.
And before anything else can really happen, the ground starts to shake and cracks form all along the floor and walls of the hall, and they like spiderweb up the statue of Colus's legs. So it's like earthquake, what?
Yeah.
Then things start exploding all around them. And it's like, whoa, what?
Mm-hmm.
And then the ether fills the space and the realm tears open once again. The same shape as 3 years ago appears. The primal of death has returned.
Let's fucking go. Let's.
Shit. Chapter 20. It is not a primal. It's Ash.
Oh!
But wait! This is the same body from 3 years ago! My god! I cannot believe it! Ash, what? And then we get the titles. Give me the titles.
He says, I am known as the Asher, the one who is blessed, the guardian of souls, and the primal god of men and endings. Alarm bells are going off. Who is it? Who is it, man?
Garbage Poppy, bitch. Oh! It's the one who is blessed? Little hints of her. I miss her. It's Nyktos, bitch! Get on your knees! Get on your knees! And they all do. Hector appears next to her with another god named Scion, and they remove the ropes that are binding her. Ugh. And then, like, he starts going after, Nyktos starts, like, looking around, and he's just like, who?
Yeah.
You're just, who?
Yeah.
And she's pretty much just like, them.
Right.
She's immediately like, they fucking did it. All these fuckers.
Right. There's like there's a guard, and he's like, you know, as Nyktos is looking at him, the guard's like, I thought he was just gonna scare. I didn't know what was going on. Can we elaborate on Ash's power for a minute that he lets out?
Yes, please.
Can we just elaborate on it for a minute? Okay.
Please.
So the primal is how it's described in the book. The primal, he turns his head to the male, so he's like looking at the guard, and that was it. He looked at him. Okay. Whatever the royal guard was about to say in his defense ended in a choked gasp. So now Nyktos is looking at him, guard's choking. The man stumbles forward. Blood is draining rapidly from his face. His head kicks back. His lips peel over his teeth in a scream that was never given life. Sit with that for a minute. Sarah jerks as tiny cracks appear in his cheeks, down his throat, over his hands. The guard shattered, broke apart like fragile glassware into a fine dusting of ash, and then nothing.
Oh my god, death looks so beautiful.
Like, let's you know, while there's so many elements of this book going on, let's remember that's who Sarah was running her mouth to and who she stabbed in the heart.
Yep. Yeah. And she has that realization as well. She's like, fuck. So yeah, he just one after another is looking at them and slowly crumbling them all to dust with his power. And then one of them stupidly tries to shoot him with an arrow, and he catches it right before it hits him in the chest, and it's really hot. But then Nyktos does this guy different. He gets up close and personal, bites down on the guard's throat with his fangs, tears his mouth open, this man's mouth, jaws open, and then spits the man's blood back into his own mouth, leaving him to just squirm and bleed out with this, like, jaw hanging open. My god!
It's so fucking hot.
It's so violent and hot! So now, with all of the guards dead, attention is back on Tavius, and guess what? He has pissed himself like the little bitch boy he is.
Good.
And Nyktos asks if he regrets what he's done. Tavius just simply, like, nods, like, and then Nyktos says, you should have thought about that before you picked up that whip and touched what was mine.
Oh.
Okay. So Nyktos has Tavius by the throat. He's like pressing him up against the statue of Colus, like suffocating him. He's for real. And then the fucking queen, Sarah's mother, tries to plead for this fucker's life.
Ugh.
What?
Yeah.
How insulting.
Yeah.
I'm just like, what a bitch.
And as he's holding Tavius, and like, if you guys need a new insult, Ash has got you. He goes, I would ask what kind of mortal you are, but it is evident that you're a pathetic pile of shit shaped into that of a man.
Hello.
Like, if you need to insult someone, that's a really good line.
It's a good one. Pathetic pile of shit shaped into that of a man.
Yep.
I love it. Sarah says that she's just like, no, he's actually always been a monster. Actually, she's immediately like, no, kill him. He's fine. No, he's been always a piece of shit. He's of little significance. Don't worry about it. But then Sarah tells him to let Tavius go. But she's not begging for his life, because Nyktos is like, you would beg for his life after what he just did to you? And she's like, I didn't beg for his life, actually.
Right.
And then Sarah looks at Tavius and says, what did I promise you? And oh boy, she takes Nyktos' sword, arms first, chop, chop, no more arms for him, just like she said, and then stabs him through the chest, doesn't get to carve out his heart, but through the heart, and then for good measure, she shoves the handle of the whip down his throat and kills him. And then before leaving, or before making any other moves, she simply tells Ezra, you take the throne. Like, you're better for it. And just, oh my god. After all of that, she starts to put the pieces together, because Nyktos/Ash, and I've been trying to figure out a way, like, I know we had Hawk Steel, so I feel like it's like Ashtos or Nikdash. I'm not sure what we're going to work on here, but I couldn't find one that really felt 100% right. So he has been responsible, essentially, for her mistreatment the last 3 years for not coming back and taking her. Because he rejected her, her life has been hell. Even more so than it already was. As soon as he sees the look of, like, fury in her eyes, he orders everybody out. He's like, you guys should leave.
Yeah.
And it's like, they haven't even known each other for that long, and he's immediately like, this is gonna be bad.
Right.
So you guys should leave. And she fights him, but he pins her against his back again. And then Sarah starts to fall back into what her duty has always commanded, to seduce and kill him. So she tries to sweet talk her way out of his hold, but it does not work, because she, like, while she's been trained like this, it's the fact that she has not been trained how to, like, slowly slip into it. It's more like an on-off. So she goes from wanting to, like, kick and punch and squirm to, like, but the way you're holding me, and oh my gosh, I'm so seductive. And it's like, girl, and he's immediately like, that doesn't sound right.
Yeah.
He's like, I don't think so. So it does not work. She's still under his hold. But then we get a reveal that he has always known who she was, even when he was just Ash, even when they were just in that vine tunnel, when they were by the lake. He always knew. She asks why he didn't take her. Where have you been, asshole?
Yeah.
And he responds, why do you think I'm here now? And it's just like, all right. I'm grumpy.
Yeah. Like, I'm not sure I understand your master plan here yet. I think that you were just conveniently showed up.
There's pieces missing here, but we will get them at some point. Chapter 21. He's come back now to save her, because she has killed a king apparent, which means that she's gonna be killed. And if he takes her, she will be safe. So, like, that's why he's back. He's like, bitch, you just killed a king. So obviously I have to take you as my consort now. It's either that or you're dying.
Yeah. And he,
Take your
you know,
pick.
he calls her out. Like, he's like, do you not value your life at all? Because he's like, so what was your plan? You were just gonna, you know, kill everyone and
die herself. And she's like, yeah, you know? And so with that, she agrees that she's going to go with him, but there's no time to say goodbye to anybody. He also makes a point to say that if he sees her mother again, he's likely going to kill her for pleading for Tavius's life. And it's like, oh, okay, so let's go see mom again. Please do. Nyktos/Ash stands close to her, and his shadows start to envelop them, like the tendrils start to come out, the Slender Man starts to come out. Then Sarah says that she feels like she's falling, and he also warns her that the mist is going to sting, and it does. Like, it burns almost for a second, and then she's falling, and then blackness. She's out.
Yeah. I need copious amounts of art of this scene because I just have it in my head. I just need it. I need someone to draw it.
I would love to see that scene.
Yeah.
She wakes up later on the back of a horse and leaning up against Ash. Yeah, more paired horseback rides! We missed you! We missed you! The horse's name is Odin, and they are in the Dark Elms en route to the Shadowlands. She starts worrying about her family, and he tells her that wards are going to be left that will block the guards from entering their home. So he's leaving them protected, even though he doesn't feel as though 100% of them should really be protected. He knew that she was being hurt, both because of the deal, but also because of her blood. If we remember, he nipped her in the tunnel and then sucked on her blood a little bit. So they've had that kind of connection ever since that moment.
Yeah.
His arm lays around her waist with his thumb making small circles. We know that song and dance very well. He claims that he never lied about who he was because some do call him Ash, and she just assumed that he was a god. And in this moment, I roll my eyes and I'm just like, Nena.
Yeah. Same
like,
here.
That's still... And she even calls him out. She's like, a lie by omission is still a lie. And yes, it is. Thank you, Sarah. If she had known who he was, would she have been interested, is the question that he poses. And she's just like, no comment. So in the years that she was trained for this fake seduction, she never figured that she might enjoy it because she finds herself enjoying it in this moment. They arrive at the lake, and she calls it her lake, which he finds humorous that she feels ownership over it. We find out a little bit more about this lake. The floor is made of shadowstone for a reason, because it's a gateway to the Shadowlands. And then the lake, he parts that fucking lake like Moses. It just parts. They enter it, and then a portal opens, mist is swirling around Odin's hooves, and he says that he did not tell her who he was because she was just Seraphena and he was just Ash. Sound familiar? Because it does to us!
Yeah.
He says that he should have told her, but there were no obligations with her not knowing. So he enjoyed himself, and he was not ready for that to end. So he enjoyed the connection that they had when they didn't have the pressures of, like, knowing that they were bound to each other as consort and whatnot. And with that, they enter the Shadowlands, which is where we are going to stop this week. And it feels such an appropriate place. We have taken care of all the bullshit that she has been dealing with for all these years. Time to go to the Shadowlands. What is awaiting? You just fucking wait. I have forgotten a lot of these books. Like, From Blood and Ash is where my heart resides. Like, I love From Blood and Ash. I love Flesh and Fire too, though. So I'm very excited to kind of go into a bit more depth with Flesh and Fire and really pick it apart to be able to set it apart from Blood and Ash and give it the respect that it is well due. Because it's fantastic.
It's very hard for me to look at these series as separate entities and see where my heart lies. It's very, very hard. I don't think that I can actually make a decision. I feel like I lean more towards Flesh and Fire.
And I love that. There's so many people. There's a very good amount of people in our book club that lean towards Flesh and Fire over From Blood and Ash.
It's so hard. It's so hard because it's like, I don't know. I don't know. We'll have to, I think that maybe we'll do a fun little like versus episode, right? Maybe when we're like finally wrapped up at the end of everything, and maybe we can have like a little, like a little game or something of this or that.
That could be, that would be fun. I like that.
Fun, yeah.
Now that we are wrapping up the episode, you know what time it is.
You know
it's
what
time to check out some fan
art.
All right.
Let's go.
Of our new characters.
That's right.
All right. So first, we are coming with a new kind of host of artists here. So I apologize if I am trash at pronouncing these ats, but we're gonna have them on text. If you are watching us, it's at Alsaces _art. ALSACES_art. And it is a solo piece of art of our girl, Sarah. She's got her Shadowstone dagger, and we see her in like this white dress with her flowing, like silvery blondish hair. She's fucking gorgeous.
Oh, yeah.
And then we got those green eyes, and they are beautiful, beautiful lady. Moving on to introduce our MMC,
Here
we
go.
have at Podgorisheva_art. So that's PODGORISHEVA_art. And this is our man, Ash.
Beautiful.
So he is like got this black ensemble on, and like he's got the, I don't know if we ever took a moment to describe how he looks in super detail, but like he's got long flowing, not long, but like shoulder length flowing red hair. So kind of diverting from how Castile presented in those books. So instead of the black hair, which I am very partial to the dark haired individuals.
Yeah.
Niktos has red hair, and he is quite the handsome individual there. And then we are returning to one of our favorites at MFT Fernandez, and we get a sneaky peek into the vine tunnel when Niktos, well, Ash at that point, is kind of coming on to Sarah, and we see her, like, she's got the slit in her dress, and we see her, you know, thigh, and like the dagger there in her thigh, and it's just
so good.
It's also worth mentioning, because I did not remember to do this earlier in the episode, Ash is described as having a silver band on his bicep. I did not point that out, but that was kind of an indicator when we see Colas later, and he has the gold band on his bicep as the primal of life. The primal of death has the silver band, so it's like, oh, okay. But this is just, yeah, very, very much so. But this is just a gorgeous piece of artwork with the flowers, and then they're both in black, but they also pop out of the frame. They're so hot. They're both so hot.
They are. Everyone's hot.
Everyone's hot. The last piece of art is a little spicy, so like not 100% NSFW, but like just so you know, in case any of you listen at work.
We got some skin.
It's at AJN_art. And this is Sarah and Ash by the lake when she's woken up and in his lap. And like we get beautiful detail of her body and like I am in love with the attention to detail on her slip, on the way that she's positioned on his legs, the way that he's looking down at her, just everything around
Her body being accurately depicted.
That too. Yep.
You know.
Little round tummy, big old boobies. And yeah, just like, I love this piece of art. When I found this, I was like, oh, that's a must. That is a must. Yeah. Because it's gorgeous. I love finding those little nuggets. And wrapping up for the week, you know, what awaits Sarah in the Shadowlands? Is it dangerous, seductive, hot, terrifying, fascinating? Will she be able to fulfill her born duty, what she's trained her whole life for? To make Ash fall in love with her, only to kill him? We will have to wait until next week to find out for part 2 of Shadow in the Ember. And even then, we might not find out everything, because that's just how JLA rolls sometimes.
Right.
We hope you had a great time. I know it's been dark, but with that last little, it's been so much fun. And we can't wait to come back and finish up this book. So without further ado, for Blood, Books, and Binge Watching, I'm Megan.
And I'm Rachel.
And we'll catch you next time.
If you or someone you know is experiencing a crisis or struggling, resources are available. Visit www.thehotline.org and/or www.988lifeline.org for more information.